when life feels like a battlefield, and the opponents you face are the toxic people around you. Remember this: your peace, your energy, and your future are worth protecting. These aren't ordinary fights, they're emotional, mental, and sometimes spiritual wars. And you must arm yourself with wisdom, not weapons, because these battles require strategy, not brute force. Toxic people don't show up with signs around their necks. They're disguised as friends, coworkers, and sometimes even family. They can drain your energy, derail your dreams, and leave you doubting yourself. But here's the good news: you don't have to play their game. You don't have to let them win. You hold the power to rise above their chaos, to protect your light, and to move forward without their negativity weighing you down. It starts with learning how to recognize them, how to shield yourself, and how to respond with strength and grace. Today we're diving into 7 clever ways to deal with toxic people, because your life is too valuable, your goals too precious, and your peace too sacred to be disrupted. Toxic people don't always announce themselves. They don't wear a sign that says, "I'm here to drain your energy." No, they come disguised, sometimes as friends, family, even colleagues, blending into your life as if they belong there. But their actions speak louder than words, louder than any disguise they might wear. They manipulate, they belittle, they thrive off negativity, and before you know it, you're caught in a storm you never asked for. Recognizing these people is the first step to taking your power back. It's the first step toward reclaiming your peace, your joy, your sense of self. You've got to pay attention to the patterns, not just the moments. Maybe it's the friend who only shows up to gossip, never to uplift. Maybe it's the family member who's always got a backhanded compliment waiting for you, tearing you down while pretending to care. Or maybe it's the colleague who takes credit for your work, making themselves look good at your expense. These patterns aren't coincidences, they're warnings. They're the universe whispering to you, pay attention, protect yourself. When you're around toxic people, you'll feel it in your spirit. It's like the air gets heavier, like every interaction leaves you drained instead of fulfilled. You walk away from conversations feeling smaller, doubting yourself, questioning your worth. That's not normal. That's not love. That's someone siphoning your energy, feeding off your light because they can't create their own. And let me tell you, that's not your burden to bear. But here's the tricky part: toxic people often know exactly how to keep you in their orbit. They might use guilt, reminding you of how much they've done for you, even when their so-called help came with strings attached. They might play the victim, making you feel responsible for their happiness, their success, their every move. And because you're kind-hearted, because you care, you might fall into the trap of trying to fix them, trying to save them. But hear me loud and clear: it is not your job to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. It is not your responsibility to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Recognizing toxic people means trusting your instincts. It means listening to that little voice inside you that says, something isn't right here. That voice is your guide, your protector, and too often, we silence it because we don't want to face the truth. We don't want to believe that someone we care about could be toxic. But denial doesn't protect you, it only prolongs the pain. You've got to be brave enough to face the truth, even when it hurts, even when it means admitting that someone you love might not have your best interests at heart. That's not an easy pill to swallow, but it's necessary. Because the longer you ignore the signs, the deeper you sink into the quicksand of their toxicity, and the harder it becomes to climb out. Recognizing toxic people isn't about judgment. It's about discernment. It's about valuing your energy, your peace, your sanity enough to say, I deserve better and you do. You deserve relationships that build you up, not tear you down. You deserve people who celebrate your victories, not undermine them. You deserve peace. And let me tell you something about peace is priceless. You can't buy it, you can't fake it, and you can't find it in the presence of toxic people. They'll rob you of it every chance they get, because a peaceful you doesn't serve their agenda. A peaceful you can see through their games, their manipulation, their negativity. A peaceful you can walk away, and that's what they fear most. But here's the good news: once you recognize a toxic person, you hold the power. You can choose how much access they have to your life. You can set boundaries, limit interactions, or cut ties altogether. That's your choice, and no one can take it away from you. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because every step you take away from toxicity is a step toward freedom, toward joy, toward a life that feels like yours again. And don't think for a second that you're being selfish. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It's self-respect. It's self-love. It's you saying, I matter enough to prioritize my well-being, It's not just powerful, it's revolutionary. Because in a world that often glorifies self-sacrifice, choosing yourself is an act of courage. Recognizing toxic people is the first step in that journey. It's the moment you stop letting others dim your light and start shining unapologetically. It's the moment you take your power back. Boundaries are not walls. They are not meant to shut people out or isolate yourself from the world. Boundaries are bridges to self-respect, to clarity, and to peace. They are the lines you draw to protect your spirit, your energy, and your sanity. They are a way of telling the world, this is what I can give, and this is what I need to protect from myself. And let me tell you, setting boundaries isn't always easy, especially when the people you're setting them with don't understand or respect them. But difficult doesn't mean impossible. Difficult doesn't mean unnecessary. It means you have to be intentional and unwavering in protecting your space. You see, the thing about toxic people is that they thrive where there are no boundaries. They push, they prod, they manipulate until they find the cracks they can slip through. If you don't set the limits, they will take more than you're willing to give, and they won't stop until there's nothing left of you to take. They'll show up uninvited, emotionally, and sometimes physically, pulling from your energy, demanding your attention, and consuming your peace. And before you know it, you're caught in their chaos, living by their rules instead of your own. But boundaries change the game. Boundaries say, this far, and no further. They tell people how they can treat you and what you will not tolerate. They are a reflection of how much you value yourself. And let me tell you something you are worth valuing. Your peace, your energy, your joy, they are not negotiable. They are not for sale. And they are certainly not up for grabs by anyone who refuses to honor them. Now, let me warn you, when you start setting boundaries, not everyone is going to like it. Toxic people, in particular, will resist. They'll push back. They'll call you selfish, cold, or ungrateful because your boundaries disrupt their ability to take advantage of you. But their discomfort is not your concern. Their feelings about your boundaries are not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your well-being, to your growth, to your peace. Setting boundaries requires courage, but it also requires clarity. You have to know what you want, what you need, and what you refuse to accept. You have to take the time to sit with yourself and figure out where your limits are. Is it about the way someone speaks to you? The way they show up in your life? The way they disregard your needs while prioritizing their own? Whatever it is, get clear about it. Write it down if you have to. Because when you're clear about your boundaries, you can communicate them with conviction. And communication is key. Setting boundaries isn't about yelling or arguing or creating unnecessary conflict. It's about speaking your truth with firmness and grace. It's about saying, I value myself enough to ask for what I need. And it's about holding to that truth, even when it's met with resistance. Because the truth is, boundaries mean nothing if you don't enforce them. You can't say, I need space, and then let someone violate that space without consequence. You can't say, I deserve respect, and then allow someone to treat you disrespectfully without accountability. Boundaries require action, not just words. Here's another thing: boundaries are not one size fits all. What works for one relationship might not work for another. You might need firm, non-negotiable boundaries with one person and more flexible ones with another. That's okay. The important thing is that your boundaries reflect your needs and values, not anyone else's. Don't let anyone guilt you into softening your boundaries just because they don't like them. Your boundaries are for you, not for them. And let's talk about the power of silence. Sometimes the most effective boundary is simply removing yourself from the conversation, from the situation, from the relationship altogether. Toxic people feed off engagement. They want the argument, the drama, the back and forth, because it keeps you connected to their chaos. But when you step back, when you refuse to engage, you take away their power. Silence is not weakness, it is strength. It is saying, I don't have to prove my worth to you. I don't have to explain myself to you. I choose peace. Now, I know what you're thinking. Setting boundaries might mean losing people. And you're right, it might. But let me tell you something: the people who leave when you set boundaries are the ones who were only there to take advantage of you in the first place. They were there for what they could get, not for who you are. Losing them is not a loss, it is a gain. It is gaining back your time, your energy, your peace. It is creating space for people who respect you, who uplift you, who pour into you as much as you pour into them. Boundaries are not easy. They require strength, consistency, and a deep belief in your own worth. But they are necessary, because without boundaries you cannot thrive. Without boundaries you cannot grow. Without boundaries, you cannot protect the light within you that the world so desperately needs. So set them, hold them, and honor them. Because when you do, you honor yourself. Recognize this truth. No one can control how a toxic person behaves, but you can absolutely control how you respond to them. Your response is your power, your shield, your opportunity to take back the narrative. Too often, people let toxic individuals dictate the energy of the room, the outcome of the conversation, the tone of the day. They let someone else's negativity seep into their own spirit, turning their light dim. But you have a choice. You don't have to react to everything thrown your way. You don't have to play their game. You don't have to give them that control over your emotions, over your peace. You've got to understand that toxic people thrive on reactions. They want you to get angry. They want you to feel small. They want to see you doubt yourself, question your worth, sink down to their level. That's their playground. That's where they have the advantage. But the moment you refuse to engage in their drama, the moment you respond with calm instead of chaos, you take the power away from them. And that's not just strength, that's wisdom. That's self-respect. Now, staying calm doesn't mean you let someone walk all over you. It doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect or mistreatment. Staying calm means you maintain control of yourself, even when someone else is out of control. It's about knowing who you are so deeply that no amount of noise from someone else can shake your foundation. It's about holding on to your dignity, your grace, your composure, because that is where your power lies. They may try to drag you into the storm, but you stay rooted, steady, unbothered. And listen, it's not easy. Let's not pretend it is. When someone's pushing your buttons, testing your patience, coming at you with everything they've got, it's natural to want to lash out, to defend yourself, to match their energy. But here's the thing, when you respond to toxicity with toxicity, they win. Because now you've let them pull you out of character. You've let them bring you down to their level. And that's not who you are. You're better than that, stronger than that, wiser than that. So how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you stay calm when everything in you wants to react? First, take a breath, a real deep breath. Because in that breath is the space to pause, to think, to choose your response instead of letting your emotions choose for you. Toxic people want you to react instantly, impulsively. They want you to lose control. But when you breathe, you create distance between their action and your reaction. And in that space, you reclaim your power. Next, remind yourself of this simple truth: their behavior is not about you. It's about them, their insecurities, their fears, their need for control. When you understand that, you can separate yourself from their negativity. You can see their words, their actions for what they are, a reflection of their inner turmoil, not yours. And when you stop taking it personally, it stops having power over you. Sometimes, the best way to respond is not to respond at all. Silence is a powerful tool, my friend. It speaks volumes without saying a word. When someone is coming at you with negativity, expecting a fight, and you respond with silence, it's disarming. It's a statement that says, I see you, but I'm not engaging with you. I'm not giving you the satisfaction of my energy. It's not weakness, it's strategy. It's a way of preserving your peace while sending a clear message that you're not here to play their games. And let's talk about walking away. There's a time to stand your ground, and there's a time to simply leave the situation. Knowing the difference is key. Walking away doesn't mean you're running or avoiding. It means you value your peace too much to stay in a space that threatens it. It means you're choosing yourself over their chaos. That's not weakness, that's strength. You see, dealing with toxic people isn't about changing them. That's not your job, and honestly, it's not within your power. It's about protecting yourself, your energy, your peace. It's about being so grounded in who you are that no amount of negativity can uproot you. It's about standing firm in the knowledge that you deserve better and acting like it. Because the moment you stop letting their behavior dictate your mood, your day, your life, is the moment you win. The moment you rise above. The moment you step into your power. There's a kind of power in knowing when to set boundaries. And it's not the loud, flashy kind of power that demands attention. It's the quiet, steady kind that commands respect. Boundaries are not walls. They are not there to shut people out or isolate yourself from the world. No, boundaries are bridges to your peace. They are the lines that define where someone else ends and where you begin. They are the markers that protect your time, your energy, your emotional well-being. They are the way you tell the world, this is what I will accept, and this is what I won't. Now, when you set boundaries with toxic people, don't expect them to like it. Oh, they'll push. They'll test. They'll see how far they can go before you push back. Because toxic people thrive on control, and boundaries are the one thing they can't control. But let me tell you something, boundaries are not about them. They are about you. They are about taking care of yourself in a way that no one else can. They are about standing up for the life you want, the life you deserve. The first step in setting boundaries is recognizing where you need them. Take a look at your life. Who or what is draining your energy? Who or what leaves you feeling small, anxious, or unworthy? That's where a boundary needs to go. And it doesn't have to be a big, dramatic declaration. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, no to the phone call you know will leave you feeling worse than before. No to the favor that takes more from you than it gives back. No to the person who keeps crossing the line, time and time again. But here's the thing about no, it's a complete sentence. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to feel guilty about it. Because your no is about protecting your yes. Your yes to the things that matter. Your yes to the people who lift you up. Your yes to the dreams you're chasing, the peace you're cultivating, the life you're building. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to yourself. And that is the most powerful thing you can do. Now, setting boundaries is one thing. Enforcing them? That's where the work begins. Because toxic people will test you. They'll try to guilt you, manipulate you, make you feel like you're wrong for standing up for yourself. Don't fall for it. Your boundaries are not up for negotiation. They are not a suggestion. They are a statement of your worth, your value, your right to live a life that feels good to you. And enforcing them doesn't mean you're mean or cold-hearted. It means you're strong. It means you respect yourself enough to demand that others do the same. And let me tell you, when you start enforcing boundaries, some people will leave. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life. And that's okay, because the people who truly love and respect you will honor your boundaries. They will understand that those boundaries are not a rejection of them, but a reflection of your love for yourself. And the people who don't, well, let them go. Because your peace, your well-being, your happiness, that's worth more than keeping someone around who doesn't respect you. Boundaries are not just about keeping toxic people out, they're about letting the right people in. The people who uplift you, support you, inspire you. The people who see your boundaries not as a challenge to overcome, but as a guide to how they can love and respect you better. Those are the people who deserve your energy, your time, your heart. And the beautiful thing is, when you start setting boundaries, you create space for those people to enter your life. You make room for relationships that feel good, that feel easy, that feel right. Setting boundaries is an act of love, not just for yourself, but for everyone in your life. Because when you take care of yourself, when you protect your energy, when you show up as your best, full of self, you have more to give. You have more patience, more kindness, more love to offer. You can show up for the people who matter in a way that feels authentic and real. And isn't that what life is about? Showing up, loving fully, living fully. But it starts with you. It starts with knowing your worth, honoring your limits, protecting your peace. It starts with drawing that line and saying, this is who I am. This is what I need. This is how I will be treated. And let me tell you, that is not weakness, that is strength. That is power. That is love. Toxic people often thrive on creating chaos, and their favorite weapon is conflict. They will bait you, push your buttons, and stir the pot just to get a reaction. But here's the thing, you don't have to play their game. You don't have to react every time they come at you with their negativity. In fact, the most powerful thing you can do is master the art of non-reaction. Silence, my friend, is golden. It's a response that speaks louder than any words ever could. It says, you don't control me. You don't get to dictate how I feel, how I act, or how I live. Now, let me be clear, non-reaction doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're running away or letting someone walk all over you. It means you're choosing peace over chaos. You're choosing to protect your energy instead of wasting it on someone who doesn't deserve it. And make no mistake, it takes strength to stay silent in the face of provocation. It takes discipline to hold your ground when every part of you wants to fire back. But that's where your power lies, in your ability to stay calm, composed, and in control. When a toxic person throws negativity your way, they're looking for one thing, a reaction. They want to see you flustered, angry, upset. They want to pull you into their storm and make you feel as out of control as they do. But when you refuse to react, you take away their power. You rob them of the satisfaction they're seeking. And let me tell you, nothing frustrates a toxic person more than your silence. It's like holding up a mirror to their behavior, forcing them to confront their own toxicity. But mastering non-reaction doesn't happen overnight. It's a skill you have to practice. It starts with pausing. The next time someone tries to provoke you, take a deep breath. Count to 10 if you need to. Remind yourself that their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. You are not responsible for their negativity, and you don't have to accept it as your own. By pausing, you give yourself a moment to decide how you want to respond, or if you want to respond at all. And sometimes the best response is no response. Walk away if you need to. End the conversation. Change the subject. Whatever you do, don't let them drag you into their drama. Your peace is more important than proving a point or winning an argument. Because, let's be real, you're never going to win with a toxic person. They don't play fair, and they're not interested in resolution. They just want to keep the cycle going. Don't give them that power. But non-reaction isn't just about silence, it's about maintaining your emotional balance. It's about not letting someone else's negativity dictate your mood or your day. And that starts with building a strong sense of self. When you know who you are, when you're confident in your worth, it becomes a lot harder for someone else to shake you. Their words may sting for a moment, but they won't stick. Because deep down, you know the truth of who you are, and no one can take that away from you. Non-reaction is also about empathy, but not the kind that lets someone off the hook. It's about understanding that toxic behavior often comes from a place of pain, insecurity, or fear. That doesn't mean you excuse it or tolerate it, but it does mean you don't take it personally. You can recognize that their actions are a reflection of their struggles, not your shortcomings. And when you see it that way, it becomes a little easier to let go of the need to fight back. But here's the most important thing about non-reaction: it's for you. It's not about them, it's about protecting your peace, your energy, your sanity. Every time you choose not to engage with negativity, you're choosing yourself. You're choosing to rise above the chaos and live in a way that feels good to you. And that, my friend, is a form of self-love. It's a way of saying, I deserve better than this, and I refuse to settle for less. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember this: you don't have to go. You don't have to engage, explain, or defend yourself. Your silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's strength. It's you taking control of your life and refusing to let anyone else dictate how you live it. And that, right there, is the ultimate power. When it comes to toxic people, one of the most powerful tools you have is the ability to set boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out, they're lines to define how you deserve to be treated. They're not about shutting someone down or cutting someone off, but about protecting your space, your energy, and your peace of mind. And let me tell you, setting boundaries takes courage. It's not easy to look someone in the eye and say, this is what I need, and this is what I will not tolerate. But it's necessary, and it's one of the most loving things you can do, not just for yourself, but for them as well. Because here's the truth: people will only treat you the way you allow them to. If you don't draw that line, they'll keep pushing, keep testing, keep taking, and the longer you let it go, the harder it gets to stand up and say, no, this is not okay. Boundaries are how you teach people what is acceptable in your life. They're how you show the world what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not. And when you set those boundaries, you're not just standing up for yourself, you're standing up for the life you want to live. But let's be real, boundaries don't come without pushback. Toxic people, especially, don't like boundaries. They don't like being told no. They don't like being held accountable. And when you start to draw those lines, they're going to push back. They're going to test you. They're going to try to make you feel guilty, selfish, or unreasonable. But don't let that sway you. Don't let their resistance make you question your worth. Because boundaries aren't about them, they're about you. They're about honoring yourself, your needs, and your well-being. Now, setting boundaries doesn't mean you have to be harsh or confrontational. You don't have to yell or argue or make a scene. In fact, some of the most effective boundaries are set with calmness and clarity. It's about saying, this is what I need, or this is what I can't accept, without anger or defensiveness. It's about standing firm in your truth, even if it makes the other person uncomfortable. And yes, it will make some people uncomfortable. But their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself. And let me tell you something else: boundaries are not just about what you say. They're about what you do. They're about how you act, how you show up, how you live your life. You can say no all day long, but if you don't follow through, if you don't enforce those boundaries, they mean nothing. Boundaries without action are just words. So if someone crosses that line, you have to be willing to take action. You have to be willing to walk away, to end the conversation, to step back from the relationship if that's what it takes. Because a boundary that isn't enforced is just a suggestion, and toxic people don't respect suggestions. But here's the beautiful thing about boundaries: the more you set them, the easier it gets. The first time it might feel terrifying. Your voice might shake, your heart might race, and you might feel like you're doing something wrong. But with every boundary you set, you're building a muscle. You're learning to stand up for yourself, to trust yourself, to prioritize yourself. And over time, it becomes second nature. You start to realize that your peace, your happiness, your mental and emotional health, they're worth protecting. And don't forget, boundaries are not just for other people. Sometimes, the person you need to set boundaries with is yourself. Sometimes you're the one who needs to say, no, I'm not going to let this person's behavior ruin my day. Or no, I'm not going to keep replaying this argument in my head. Self-boundaries are just as important as boundaries with others. They're how you take control of your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions. They're how you remind yourself that you're in charge of your life, not anyone else. So don't be afraid to draw those lines. Don't be afraid to say, this is what I need or this is what I won't accept. Don't be afraid to walk away from people who refuse to respect your boundaries. Because at the end of the day, your peace is priceless. Your energy is sacred. Your well-being is worth more than anyone's approval or acceptance. And when you start to honor yourself in this way, something incredible happens. You start to attract people who respect you, who value you, who lift you up instead of tearing you down. You start to build a life that feels good, a life that feels right, a life that feels like yours.